So the offset shed house is it's a little house. It's a permanent family home, but it's in a quite a remote part of New Zealand, that in a sort of a little village on the sea. And the question that we really had in that project was, with a very small budget, was how to put a house into a community that all shared well, they all shared the beach and the flat ground between the hill and the water. And um, it's called sort of shared house because they all the other buildings were built after World War II, around that time, and they're not complicated buildings. They were built by people coming back from the war and building themselves little, hang out fishing spots. And what we tried to do was fit a building into that context that was receptive and soft and did things in much the same way as these other buildings around them did. And then the notion of offsetting it was that it's a tight site and it faces south, which is away from the sun in the southern hemisphere. So by offsetting the buildings like that, we could make these external spaces. So you always had a place out of the wind and a place in the sun. And so really the house works by making a communal deck at the front of the house where anybody can come and go. They're all big surfers, and the community sort of hang out together so that people can congregate on this front deck. But then we give sort of clues and use people's common sense about how far into the building they can go. And so the bedrooms are at the back and the living's at the front. And so, John around the corner might go further into the house than someone else who isn't so popular. So it sort of uses common sense rather than fences to say it doesn't have any fences. So it invites everyone in and just controls privacy by where we have openings and where we have decks and where we have view and where we don't.
It's an interesting counterpoint to other communities, coastal communities in New Zealand, because the coast is becoming less democratic in New Zealand. Once upon a time, everyone had a really modest little beach and we'd escape there in the summer. Now, because that land's more expensive, the nature of the way we build has changed. So I think offset house is a counterpoint to the idea that you would buy a bit of coast and you would enclose it and try and make it your own and capture it for yourself. And then it very much embraces the community and the context of what was there to start with. It's a very, almost an unusual response to a coastal location in New Zealand at the moment.
It shares. Yeah. It shares its site with the community. Yeah, and that's our clients. I mean, that's what they're like. They're lovely people, but it also fits the community because that's how they all live. And then once we sort of had that approach, it was really just a case of just pulling everything back, just trying to make it very, very simple, because the strength of the view and all the stuff that's happening in it is very strong and very rich colour. So we're pulling the whole house back just to make it be legible, as a very simple set of sheds. It was two things. One, it was budget, but it's also that thing about making it recessive. Because the buildings around it are, most of them are pretty ordinary, pretty normal kind of buildings. We're not trying to use flash materials. We're trying to use readily attainable materials that fitted into that community. And so, it was a way of just kind of keeping the building very pure by using the same material on the roof and the walls. And then we use timber around the openings just to warm it up, show where the light goes, and to use them as a kind of the timber kind of orientates you and where the circulation patterns go. There's sort of a subcontext to the understanding where you might go. You end up underneath these pergolas, which lead you from one deck to another.
The timber work and the detail, the attention we spend on that building, we try to focus those on the areas that matter most. So the roofing, cladding, the corrugated iron, if you like, is kind of a symbol of a vernacular New Zealand architecture from days gone by. That's an easy answer to address the budget. But for us, the theme that's developed in the last few years, I think because a lot of the budgets or the projects that we deal with are modest, is knowing where to start and where to stop with the detail of the architecture, knowing the parts that are important and things that we can let go of, knowing trying to scope the things that are important, elevate what could be a pretty modest building to a lot more than that.
That notion of a shed in New Zealand architecture is quite famous. Kind of a sort of an academic, notion of what was called an elegant shed, which is this idea that New Zealand is a long way away from the rest of the world, and its architecture's sort of come from quite humble beginnings from a shed. And so some of the strategies that were used in this building in terms of just simply using a veranda to control privacy, you go in where you don't. It's just a very, very simple shed. It's how those first buildings were designed, with a public space out the front, and then a little door, and then a space inside. And so there's a bit of sort of it was an interesting project. Once we established that was the way to solve it, because there's quite a lot of sort of New Zealand architectural theory and about what actually a shed means in New Zealand architecture, which was quite good as well.